F1 Manager 24 returns for the 2024 Chinese Grand Prix, round number 5 of this series of grid changes every race. And this is the grid for this race. So we've got Carlos Sainz in a McLaren, Esteban Ocon in the RB, Alexander Albon in a McLaren, Lando Norris back in a Haas again, Kevin Magnussen is in an RB, Max Verstappen is now in Aston Martin, Nico Hulkenberg at Kick Sauber, Lewis Hamilton in a Red Bull, he's going to be happy about that. Zhou Guanyu is our first driver at Williams, Daniel Ricciardo at Mercedes, as we go to George Russell at Ferrari, Charles Leclerc at Mercedes, Yuki Tsunoda at Ferrari, Valtteri Bottas at Alpine, alongside Fernando Alonso also at Alpine, Logan Sargent is at Haas, Sergio Perez at Aston Martin, Pierre Gasly at Sauber, Oscar Piastri, our other driver at Williams, and Lance Stroll at Red Bull. So that is the grid for this next race. Now we're going to do some design, a design for underfloor, and as you can see here, I'm actually tweaking this a lot. I usually just go for balanced setups, but I'm wondering maybe I should actually start focusing on some of the things that, you know, are weak with our car. So here I think I'm trying to go for like high speed cornering, because that is one of our weaker aspects of the car. So we're going to design that one. We're also going to manufacture the suspension. That is now complete. That one is only a kind of balanced upgrade. So you'll see, you know, it just doesn't have much of an impact. You know, it improves everything a little bit, but it's probably, I think, maybe it's going to be better to, you know, focus more on, you know, okay, this upgrade we're going to focus on high speed cornering, and this one we're going to focus on acceleration or whatever. So that is what we are going to do from now onwards. For our race targets, we got Piastri at 16th, Zhou Guanyu, we're going to go for 18th. It actually gave us the same options for both, but I have more confidence that Piastri will be able to do a better job. Looking at R&D, this is how it's looking. As you can see, pretty much everyone apart from Haas is doing way bigger upgrades than us. Us in Williams, we're just below the grey of Haas there. We're actually a little bit closer to Haas than we were, but you know, everybody else, I mean, look, RB there have absolutely jumped ahead of Aston Martin. Ferrari are ahead of McLaren. A lot of the other teams are having these big upgrades, whereas it doesn't seem to matter what I do. I just can't get those massive upgrades. So I don't really know what that's about. Maybe it's just because we don't have enough money, or... But in saying that, you know, teams like Sauber right at the back, I wouldn't have thought would have that much money, but they're managing to get these pretty big upgrades too. So, oh well, we'll just have to wait and see. Q1 here, Piastri's first lap, puts in P2 for now. Make that P3 as Tsunoda goes quickest. Zhou is now just coming towards the end of his lap. Around the final corner here, of course, we've got Zhou Guanyu in our team for the Chinese Grand Prix. So his first ever home Grand Prix, and he's in the Williams for us. He goes quite a bit slower, 0.4 slower than Piastri. And as we come to the end of Q1, Piastri is there in P13. It looks like he's probably going to be safe. Zhou, unfortunately, cannot improve, and he's going to be out in Q1 here, P17 for him. So that is pretty disappointing. I was hoping for at least a little better than that from Zhou Guanyu. Piastri, he's not improving on his second lap here. Neither driver actually improved on their second lap. But it doesn't matter anyway for Piastri, because he will be through. And there we have the confirmation that Zhou Guanyu is out, 17th for him. It's not awful, but I was hoping for a little bit better. Hamilton quickest in Q1, and yes, Piastri is through to Q2. It is very close there, though, you can see. I mean, it's less than a tenth that Zhou's missed out getting through to Q2, so it's all very close at this bottom end. As now Piastri finishes his first Q2 lap and goes up to third, so slowest of the drivers so far. And after that first run, he's down in 12th place. And now, because we don't make it through to Q3, this is the final run in Q2. Currently P12 for Piastri. Verstappen and Perez, by the way, both back together as teammates again, but this time they're both at Aston Martin. They are also in the drop zone here, which was a little bit unexpected. I mean, I guess at the same time though, RB, because you've got Magnussen and Ocon there in the RBs, they're both in Q3 at the moment, in the top 10. I guess it makes sense though, because RB have actually jumped ahead of Aston Martin on R&D, so it is definitely unusual to see Verstappen that far behind his teammate though. He's like 3/10, almost exactly 3/10 behind his teammate. As for Piastri on this Q2 lap, well, he isn't going quicker at the moment. It's a yellow first sector and it's a yellow second sector as well. So don't know what it is here in China, but drivers not, my drivers at least, not seeming to improve on a second flying lap. Brand new tyres for this lap, but yeah, unfortunately not able to improve. He's going to have a stellar final sector if he's going to be able to improve at all and have any chance of getting out of Q2, but it's not going to be likely because we're already 6/10 down on 7/10 down on a time that will get us out of Q2. Ocon is actually the driver now in P11. Perez managed to go quicker. He went to P7. We crossed the line with Piastri, and it's not going to be any better for us. In the end, it's P13 for Piastri, so we are out in Q2, kind of to be expected. Sergio Perez does manage to get through to P7 in the Aston Martin, out-qualifying Verstappen, which is quite crazy. And yes, there is the order. Verstappen down in P12, and this is the final Q3 order. Lewis Hamilton gets pole position ahead of Yuki Tsunoda. So that is the front row of the grid for this Chinese Grand Prix in 2024. The grid changes every race series. Let's see what happens in the race.
The 56 laps of the Shanghai International Circuit await our drivers here in China.
Shanghai has seen its fair share of clashes over the years, one of which happened even before the 2005 race had begun, when Michael Schumacher collided with Christian Albers on the way to the grid, sending Albers into the air.
Shanghai International Circuit is a complicated low-speed track that demands high downforce. The series of rapid turns from 1 to 4 demands high grip, but the more the drivers warm their tyres, the more degradation they'll have to deal with. Well, there's nothing quite like it. Welcome along to race day.
Right, so this is the race preparation for this race. We're going to put Piastri on a 2-stop, Zhou on a 1-stop. It only gave me the option of a 1-stop before, but I ended up going, you know what, we're going to try a 2-stop with Piastri because I think that's going to be better. Tyre wear is going to be quite significant on the 1-stop, so let's just try this out. How can we go here? Let's find out.
Final checks are being carried out by the teams, and it won't be long until we get this race underway. And there's no doubting that Lance Stroll is prepared to put in the hard work.
It's a second row start there in P4. The trick will be not to slip backwards because there are plenty looking to capitalise.
But remember, anything can happen in Formula One. The excitement is building here in Shanghai. And it's lights out, and away we go.
Here we go for the Chinese Grand Prix in 2024. This grid changes every race season, and Tsunoda's got a great start off the line. He is into the lead already through turn 1. He's actually on the soft tyres compared to Hamilton on the medium, so that is something to take into consideration. Hamilton's teammate Stroll also on the soft tyres, so I guess Red Bull switching their strategy a bit there. Piastri is still in P13. He hasn't moved up from where he started, but already is maybe having a look at Verstappen into the next corner as the two RBs go side by side. Maybe he did make a move, actually. Maybe he got past someone, but somebody got past him because, yeah, saying there that Piastri has gotten ahead of Sargent. As that is the case, good work for Oscar Piastri there. Of course, this is actually the second time we've had Piastri as our teammate at Williams. He is the first driver to be with our team twice, so that's something to take into consideration for him. He didn't have a great time last time out when his teammate was Max Verstappen, and he of course went on to score our one and only point so far this season. Hamilton did manage to get back into the lead again, but Tsunoda's coming straight back at him once again into the hairpin. Very janky through there. Everything looks a little bit strange in this game sometimes. You know, the cars jank around a little bit, and that is the case here. But Tsunoda's back up into the lead again, but Hamilton's sticking with him, and on the medium compound tyres, You have to say that it is advantage Hamilton at this point in time. The Red Bull is also the quicker car on paper, and Hamilton gets back past Tsunoda again into turn 1. So if he can just keep Tsunoda right here with him, he's going to be in a very good position to go on and win this race. Piastri now coming back under fire from Logan Sargent once again, who is actually the lead Haas at this point in time, which is a pretty ridiculous thing to say when his teammate is Lando Norris. Maybe Norris is on the medium tyres, I'm not 100% sure. But now we have a look at Piastri getting back past Sargent again. This ends up being a bit of a to and fro here. However, Piastri, we've got both of our drivers on the medium tyres, although Piastri is of course doing a 2-stop, whereas Sargent is on the softs. A lot of drivers actually around us are on the softs, but the strategy we've gone for, we're going for the softs right at the end for Piastri, and of course Zhou is doing a 1-stop, or is at least going to try a 1-stop. So here we go, Zhou Guanyu actually making quite a few positions here at the start on the medium tyres against soft tyre runners. So the Chinese driver doing pretty well in his first home Grand Prix here. But I was a little bit surprised, you know, as we see the two leaders once again. When I loaded into the game, it only gave me an option of a 2-stop for both a 1-stop for both drivers. But it seems like pretty much everybody here looks to be doing a 2-stop. I mean, most of the field are on the softs, so a bit strange that the game, you know, didn't kind of think that would be the case. So maybe the 1-stop for Zhou isn't going to work. At the moment, though, he's doing pretty well. He's just overtaken Fernando Alonso, who's trudging around in the Alpine at the moment. There we see the jankiness around the hairpin. It looks very, very ridiculous. Almost looks like Zhou is driving into Alonso. But he's up to 15, and yeah, he's doing a pretty good job, to be honest, all things considered. But I don't want to, you know, wear his tyres too much, considering he's trying to do that 1-stop. Piastri's now fighting with Ocon in the RB and is getting past. So good work for him as well, though he will eventually get re-overtaken once again. And I think I told him to let back a bit because we're using up our tyres. The two at the front still battling it out as well. Tsunoda and Hamilton pulled a 6-second gap to Stroll, the car in third place. But yeah, Hamilton's still doing a great job, though, being on those medium compound tyres. Here's the two Aston Martins. Verstappen ahead of Perez at this point in time. But Perez is going to come for his teammate round the outside. Slingshots his way around turn 1, Sergio Perez. And that is him now up back ahead of his teammate once again. Piastri now as we head on, and there's a yellow flag. Virtual safety car is out, and that's Tsunoda. Tsunoda's in the gravel, potentially being in the wall there. Tsunoda has crashed at turn 7. Let's have a look at this. So he's in second place at the moment, looking at the back of Lewis Hamilton. He just loses the back end, spins off, and oh, that's a big impact into the wall for Yuki Tsunoda. He was looking at potentially winning this race, if not having a podium, but he's just spun the car off. He had a podium, of course, last time out in Japan. It was P3 then for him. And looking for another podium here, getting a lucky draw, getting into the Ferrari. But unfortunately, he's now out of this race. And we're going to take that opportunity with the VSC to pit Piastri for his first pit stop. Now onto the hard compound tyres. It's a couple of laps earlier than I was expecting, but I thought we might as well go for it. Tyre wear's a little high anyway. And, you know, I had a little bit of reserves with the strategy I went for with Piastri. So we made that work. We've just gotten past Gasly as well. We're now starting to carve our way through these Saubers, who are rather slow. They are the slowest car on paper, and we quite easily also get past Hulkenberg with Piastri. Zhou is now up into P8, as a lot of drivers have started coming in. It's actually Carlos Sainz leading the way. Then it ends up being George Russell leading the way. Norris has a mechanical fault in the Haas. Maybe that explains why he's not doing so well compared to his, you know, much less experienced teammate, saying that he lost drive at a moment there. He's still carrying on, but obviously some sort of fault for Norris. At the front now, it's a Ferrari versus Red Bull, but this time though, it's Russell versus Hamilton, the two real Mercedes teammates, of course, this year. They're now fighting in a Red Bull and a Ferrari, and Hamilton gets past Russell. Hamilton on the soft compound tyres. I don't believe Russell has pit yet. He is on a completely different strategy again to everybody else. Zhou on lap 25 is finally going to come in for his stop onto the hard compound tyres. And we're going to try going to the end with Zhou on these tyres. It's going to be a tall ask, and I mean, we're definitely not going to be looking at points with Zhou. Probably not with Piastri either, but, you know, kind of expected. We're not really there to score points, as there is then a yellow flag and crash involving multiple cars. Is this to do with Zhou? It sounds like Zhou may have had an issue here. So he's now coming up behind one of the Hasses, and he goes for a move into turn one, but the Haas closes the door right there on us. I'm not sure if that was Sargent or Norris. I think it was Sargent, but very unfortunate. However, just after that happened, Zhou manages to then get himself past the Haas driver. So good for him. There isn't any damage, thankfully. No damage for Zhou, so that's good, but definitely lost him a bit of time there. Now Verstappen is having issues. He's saying that his engine is clipping, so not good for Verstappen in the Aston Martin either here, although he's currently running in P5, although I think the grid is a little bit all over the place with the current pit stops. Magnussen overtakes Piastri, but we're going to get straight back through on him down the inside of Kevin Magnussen. And he's going to try and stick it though. He's on the soft compound tyres. We're on the hard compound tyres, but quite a bit fresher tyres. No, sorry, he's on the mediums actually. I'm not 100% sure if this is for position or if there's a bit of a pit difference here. I'm not 100% sure. But unfortunately, Piastri's not quite able to get past at that time. Lap 43, we're now going to come in for the sots. It's slow on the front left though. It is a slow pit stop, 4.6 seconds. Very unfortunate for Piastri. That is going to lose us a bit of time, but we're now on the quickest tyre that should definitely go to the end of this Grand Prix. No worries at all. So we're just going to go as fast as we can towards the end here. We're going to have to overtake our teammate, which we're going to do very easily. We told Piastri to not fight, sorry, we told Zhou to not fight Piastri, so he lets him pass easily, and now Piastri has got to make some moves. Now Zhou, just after Piastri got past, heading into the hairpin, and oh my goodness, there was nearly a big collision between the two Williams there. Zhou locking up on the brakes, I think, and almost going into the back of his teammate. That could have been an absolute disaster. Thankfully it wasn't. Piastri now starting to carve his way through up to P13 on Fernando Alonso, who's trying to fight back. He's trying, but he's not going to be able to do it, and Piastri is up ahead of Alonso. Next car up ahead is Lando Norris in that slightly struggling Haas car, and as he goes up the inside, going into the hairpin, Piastri, I think, is going to make that move on his real-life teammate at McLaren. That is Piastri up to P12, so we are a position higher than where we finished this, than where we started this race. Finally, going on to the final lap of this race, it's Hamilton in the lead, it's Russell in second. Maybe it's looked all this race like Hamilton's had the best strategy, but maybe at the end here it's worked out for Russell, because into turn one, Russell has taken the lead of this Grand Prix. And as we come to the end of it, he pulls out a 1.5 second gap to Hamilton, and it is going to be George Russell. Finally, we're going to have a non-Red Bull winner this race. George Russell will win the Chinese Grand Prix. He was dominant in the Ferrari in my F1 Manager 23 series. He's bloody good here as well. First time in a Ferrari, and he wins the race here in China.
And coming in first, it's George Russell.
After that performance, there's no doubt that they deserve their spot at the top of the podium.
Great work from George Russell there to win here in China, the first Ferrari win of this game, and the first non-Red Bull win of this game as well. It is going to be a Red Bull 2-3 though, as Hamilton comes home second. Stroll finally gets his first points of the season and a podium too in P3, although he's 18 seconds, almost 19 seconds behind Hamilton. But he is on the podium. He's finally scored his first points of the season. So now everybody's at least scored a point.
And up he goes, George Russell joining the podium lineup after a memorable Grand Prix.
That gives them their first win of the season, and it was really well deserved.
And that's the podium complete for the Chinese Grand Prix.
Great race from George Russell, up 4 positions to win the Chinese Grand Prix, gets the fastest lap as well, so great stuff, great strategy by Ferrari, and it is, like I said, a double podium for Red Bull. Carlos Sainz, the championship leader, manages P4 in the McLaren as well, so he'll be happy with that, you know, getting some big points this race. Albon also up there in P6. Leclerc finally scores his first points since round 1, and in the Drivers' Championship, Carlos Sainz is still leading the way with that P4 finish. He is 10 points ahead of George Russell, who jumps up to 2nd place in the championship. Then it's Lewis Hamilton with 2 podiums in a row in P3. At the bottom of the championship, well, it's actually now Oscar Piastri. Piastri is now 20th and last in this championship, on the same amount of points as Gasly, who is in P19, both on 10 points. My other teammate from this race, Zhou Guanyu, up in 12th. And once again, Red Bull still have a big lead in the Constructors' Championship. They still score more points than Ferrari, even though Ferrari did win that race. But it is then a joint 3rd place for McLaren and Mercedes, and joint 5th place for Aston Martin and RB. But anyway, that's going to be it for this video, guys. Thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed, please go ahead, like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video.